6 dill sprigs things and just throw it all in. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces lime juice. And 1 ounce. And then we're gonna muddle it together to make sure the flavors of the dill and the cucumber show up. Just muddle that for a little bit.
I've never muddled.
It helps, like with herbs and stuff, to get the aroma and the oils to come out in the drink. Nice. I recommend it.
What we need for you is like a microphone. I want some like ASMR of that shit.
I got you next week.
Oh.
Alright, and then we're gonna do 4 ounces of vodka. And let me get some ice. And then we're gonna shake for like 15 seconds.
Warm.
Beautiful.
And then for the garnish, you're gonna get like a long boy cucumber.
Love
Throw
that
that
long
in.
boy.
And then with this, you want to double strain to make sure that no dill go into the.
Oh, that color is so
That looks
cute.
really good.
It's like very refreshing. Then you add a little cucumber garnish, dill garnish, and voila.
God, pop off.
Have a little extra for after.
Woo! Amazing.
Dude.
Kickstart you a Food Network show. Like,
I thought about it. If you follow my Finsta, I do a lot of cooking.
follow your what?
Finsta. You can talk about that later.
Energy. Damn. Alright. Well, it's time to get lit. So roll some shit out. And I don't know, have one of these cocktails. I really want one now. God damn.
Ew, Alexa, I wish you were home.
Yeah.
In a month. Got you.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, Habbo Hotel. So I guess kind of the first prompt that I wanted to bring up, and this is something we've kind of been circling around a lot of, and I'm kind of just interested in people's like consumption taste right now, because the shit that I'm like looking at is like so different than what I've been used to like watching. I don't know. That makes any sense. But I guess maybe to just kind of read off the prompt that I sent y'all. The cultural sector is changing rapidly under quarantine, with effects in large-scale production being effective, like basically kind of just being like shut down for the next year easily. At a certain point, Netflix is going to stop streaming new episodes of your favorite shows. Movie theater chains are possibly going to go bankrupt. Full education departments and museums are officially being laid off for the foreseeable future. MoMA, Whitney included. Broadway's closed. The list goes on. During quarantine, however, we've seen a rise in a ton of different types of net content. Everybody's streaming. Everybody is constantly on live, which I, love. But there's been like just such different types of content. Music streaming's booming. Twitch streams, vlogs, virtual raves, more eclectic kind of TikToks and meme trends and things like that. Most of the people on this thread are artists and musicians in their own right. I just want to know, has this like changed the content you're taking in or like consuming since you've been in quarantine, and like has your own practice changed like in this whole process? And like how can we sustain like an art kind of community and a practice moving forward as, tangible spaces take kind of gonna take a minute for the gallery to open back up, the music space. So What's everybody watching? I guess maybe like that's like a good kind of point of entry.
Right now, I'm watching. I had the video paused. It's a tool restoration YouTube channel, and it like just that shit puts me to sleep almost every time I watch it in like the best way. It's just this hardworking dude polishing some metal, and like it just sits right with me. I just love to see it.
Share that screen. I want to know what you're looking at.
Oh my god, it's good stuff. He doesn't talk. There's no background music or anything. It's just his big sexy hands.
You ever
going to
seen
work.
the guy who makes knives out of like everything?
I love that guy too. I
Yeah.
love any tool YouTube channel.
Sounds like some How It's Made type shit. Watching, the marble factory as they like make marbles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Literally. I know. I
Yeah,
used to.
I guess there's something about watching someone make something shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
That's just like
relaxing.
visual ASMR. You just your like brain can't handle.
My God. So
Well,
good.
I just finished watching Adventure Time, which I'm really upset about because I really enjoyed it.
Did
And now I need a new
Oh,
show
shit.
to watch.
you start watching
So we'll play Blindfold
Oh,
game,
fuck,
guys?
Midnight Gospel.
Oh, I'm on the 4th episode.
That's a really good show. You guys should go watch. It's
I
just
did-
on Netflix.
I'm not focusing too much on it. I'm like playing Animal Crossing at the same time, so I feel like I'm missing a lot of it.
It's crazy.
What's
It's
the show?
They talk fast.
It's
Yeah.
Midnight Gospel. It's the same people who it's the same person who did Adventure Time, I think. And fucking good. Just like the whole premise is like this guy has this simulator that allows him to go into all these different realities using like whatever avatar he wants, and then he has like this like interstellar podcast where he like interviews all these like intelligent beings from these different like dimensions for his podcast, and like while doing a bunch of fucked up shit, they're talking about like some really like
Good deep talk.
shit. yeah. You watch it. I'm like almost done, and it's fucking me up a lot.
How many episodes are there? It's just one season, right?
Only 8.
Okay, halfway done. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And they're like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Criterion movies on this app, and I just watched today this movie called Shampoo. You guys heard of it?
Yeah.
With
Nuts.
Warren Beatty. He's basically like a hairdresser, and he's just like a total playboy. And it's I actually think that'd been a perfect thing to show for movie club, but it's pretty interesting.
It's on Criterion?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll check it out then.
I've just been watching a lot of older movies, sort of I consider it educational but trying to stay away from sort of like social media a little bit because it's just really aggravating. Like a certain administration is always in the dominating the news, so that makes sense.
Most of your stream like politics, or is it?
I'm just talking about basically I'm always every time I'm on like checking the news, social media, it's always like it's upsetting just hearing how like they're handling this whole like pandemic, and just like doesn't look like it's gonna get resolved anytime soon. So I'm trying to just like somewhat distract myself. Like
Yeah,
think
it's
a lot of
almost
them are
like
shooting out.
it's almost like some of the coverage of the government is like for entertainment purposes. Gets some that level.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, like, just like there's like such a flood of like governor like state of addresses and shit like that. It's just like, it's like such an overwhelming kind of like environment to be like constantly bombarded in. I used to listen to the news in the shower every day, and now I just can't do that.
Yeah.
it's like
No.
every hour he's always saying something stupid of Trump, and it's just like
Yeah.
his voice, like my ears are like dying from like hearing his voice.
Well, it's not just him. It's just like, I mean, like even like Amy Goodman reminding me that New York City is like the epicenter of the COVID, you know, like American
Yeah.
COVID cases. Like it's like too much for me, like anymore at this point. Like, I hate to have to like
that's such a bad opener.
she
how
repeats
does-
it like 30 times.
Already the fucking musical curtain sucks. Like,
Yeah.
do you have to really add that shit, like that reminder every day?
Mm-hmm.
It did give me a little bit of relief to be like out driving around the city yesterday
Mm-hmm.
and like it was empty.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are really like taking it seriously. There are so many fucking people out where I am, like everywhere. There's like a lot of people in the park like on the weekends here, but like the streets are pretty clear.
Are they like trying to get people out of those public places, like at the park?
There's a
Or they-
lot of cops in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an interesting, I think it was on the New York Times, like now with the streets empty and all these like car gangs and bike gangs are coming out.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
There
felt
was a
so...
wild one coming down Flatbush a couple of days ago, and they like pull up their front wheel,
Yeah.
like ride on their back wheels, and I'm like, dude, like we're trying to avoid hospitals. You're gonna fall. And I'm just like staring at these bikers like going down Flatbush, like doing that shit, and I'm like, I guess I'll get them if they fuck up.
Yeah.
I guess I'm here. Like,
Energy. Yeah, no, I live in an area too that's like, I mean, I live in like the factory part of Bushwick, and I feel like it's like 2, 3 a.m. You just hear just like engines like fucking revving, and just like I just see lights just like zooming down the street. Like, it's seriously the most like insane shit sometimes. It's like really, it's pretty sick though. Like, not gonna lie.
yeah,
It's like Akira.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Akira.
Yeah.
Automatically dystopian society right away.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't been in my apartment in over a month. Like, I've been stuck in New Jersey, and it's like really surreal. Like, I'm still having to worry about paying for rent, and I haven't even been. And then I got an email from my landlord saying, "Oh, by the way, we're going to increase your rent by like $60 if you renew your lease." So I'm just like, oh, thank you guys, for, like, just like so thoughtful. It's like, damn.
Rent strike?
I
Yeah.
know.
How are you feeling?
I mean, I would like to go on strike, but I don't think.
Mhm. Maybe we can get back to like the prompts later if we want to. Well, I mean, like we can also just talk.
Yeah,
we
what
can-
kind of art you been making?
well, do we want to do that, or do we want to kind of talk about? I mean, we could also go into like what
Or watching?
yeah, watching. You can finish this up. I mean, like, yeah, I guess like, is anybody like making stuff like during like?
I have been like, so my roommate was gonna take this like sculpting class at this spot in Bed-Stuy before quarantine happened, and then she like went to her family in Atlanta, and so she like the place gave her like 20 pounds of terracotta.
Wow.
So I made, and I don't sculpt shit. Like every time I sculpt, it looks like a toilet or a vagina. These things work out. So we got them.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. Weird. Weird.
Is that like a bowl?
Closer.
Whole thing.
That's cool.
I love it. I'm putting drainage in them, even though this is like definitely too shallow for anything alive. But we'll see.
That's terracotta?
And then yeah.
Cool.
And I'm just gonna like fire them when the world opens back up. And this is like some weird spiky blobby thing. I just started pushing clay into itself.
Nice.
It was like super cathartic. I did it when I got a migraine last week, and I was like, I'm not working anymore to my boss. Just like started pushing clay into itself. So that's a cool thing to have. I also started a painting like in the beginning. But I stopped it, and I've just been staring at it because I don't like it. And I bought like a watercolor paper the size of postcards, and I was gonna mail postcards out to people. So if I don't have your address already, DM me.
Yeah, I love all these people sending shit. It's like a
I'll
really
mail you
cute.
a painting.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of like letters back and forth to some people, and then I'm doing a watercolor portrait series, but I stopped. Get back on that. And I was supposed to take a ceramics class starting this month, but that's not happening. I need to buy some clay. I have a pottery wheel in my garage. So
I have a pottery wheel. Yeah. I don't know. Pottery wheels move too fast for me. I just like smushing with stuff.
I just want to be like that scene in
Yeah, like I watched. Speaking of TV, I watched Community, which I never watched like in full. And I'm
Really?
thinking of it because of that like pottery episode
Yeah.
where they like introduce the doctor guy, and Joel McHale is like, another hot dude. I don't know. That's. I made a painting today. It's how I feel about pottery wheels. How Joel McHale.
I love it.
I love that.
Good
It looks like
energy.
you, Bud, and Elf.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Great. Thanks. I was tripping. I was like, oh! You should run me as an elf. Be an elf creative. Oh! Hi, guys.
Oh, what's
What
good?
up?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh my God, they're like basked in a glow.
Yeah.
Really welcome.
Welcome to my nest.
Oh my God, you've transformed into Night Loren.
To the night.
Energy. Oh. Well,
So what are you watching?
what have I been watching?
Yeah.
I have been watching like a lot more. I think on like Sam's suggestion, like a lot of like Twitch streams and stuff like that has been something that I've just like had like on in the background like all the time, which has been like really refreshing. And like some of the podcasters that I'm like into have like kind of transitioned into doing stuff. Like TrueAnon does something. They do like a Sunday show, and there's this dude Joshua Citarella who does like a bunch of like talks and like lectures and stuff. And I don't know. It's like kind of fun to kind of put faces to voices for me now, and I've been it's become like my new TV basically. But there's also like this woman Carmen who I like fucking adore, and she like does like these like let's plays of like Grand Theft Auto, and
Nice.
but, yeah, no, it's like really sick though, but like it's not like they're not going around like shooting people. Like it's like a community of people that are like just like really into like
RP.
yeah, role playing, like just different characters in the game. So like they're just all homies that like come through and like fucking I don't know,
They're
just like
basically
live
playing The Sims and Grand Theft Auto.
exactly. Yeah, they just like get fucked up and like
I
drive
love that.
around.
It's like such a fresh spin on the
Yeah.
on like the trope.
Yeah. Yo, what's up, kid?
What's
Yeah.
up?
No, it's like seriously. It's like super like surprisingly really relaxing just to kind of watch people play video games for hours or like just play loose characters of themselves for a minute. Like just more it's like weird, like such a weird energy. But Twitch in like a general sense is like such a crazy ass platform in my mind. I don't know, like people have just been like leaving cameras on and just like it's the weirdest place to kind of go down rabbit holes and shit like that. Like watch somebody like
If you look up random Twitch streamers, there's some that are just like absolute characters.
yeah.
Like, just look up just close your eyes and like click one, and it's like somebody who you're just like, this guy, I want to watch this guy for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, there was this dude that was like that I watched for like a full night that was like formerly like incarcerated. He like was like he unfortunately like got into like a drunk driving accident, which is like really unfortunate, and he like killed somebody. But like it was just like such a weird, like, he had like such a like Jersey accent or like Jersey like energy, and he was just like, yeah, so I just got out of prison. I've been into prison for like 9 years, and he's like, just what do you want to know? What do you need to know? What do you want to tell me? And like, I don't know, people were just asking him like weird things about his life, and he was just getting like progressively more and more fucked up, and like good energy. But it was like such a, I have no fucking clue. It's just like, it's a weird place. It feels like old YouTube where you could like stumble on somebody, like just somebody's personal account, and it's just like filled with weird shit, but like it's live, so it makes it even more alarming sometimes. I don't know.
Some people make a living just off of playing video games on Twitch, like just for the amount of views they get. Like some people make like $100,000 just people watch them play like Halo or something. That's their entire life. Like, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah, it's fully it's a full-time job. A lot of streamers, like, you get into it because you think it might be like a secondary income or something, but then like it's one of those platforms where it's like the work you put in like equals how much you're gonna make, and like how much of a ripple effect you're causing. So like there's a lot of people who just quit their jobs and just do Twitch full time, and it's sitting in front of your computer for 12 hours. But there's a lot of people who also will sit and watch your stream for 12 hours and give you money to do it. So it's like, it's pretty lucrative, and like I think it's kind of cool, and it's like kind of like it's showcasing like these new like platforms for people to make money on the internet that's like hadn't existed until now. And I think especially within like quarantine and like with this corona like lockdown that everybody's in, is like people are turning towards the internet for entertainment and for like constant entertainment and like companionship, and like those are all things that like the internet is really giving us that like we can't find anywhere else.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like since quarantine, I feel like everyone's like parasocial relationships are just getting a lot stronger. Like in terms of like people latching on to like internet celebrities, like specifically like YouTubers. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. I've just noticed like there's like this huge like surge in like YouTube viewership, and like YouTube fan bases becoming like more attached to creators than like ever before. It's like kind of interesting given that like a lot of these people like never talk to these creators like one-on-one, like they don't like actually have a relationship with them, but like I don't know where I was going with that exactly.
Yeah, but I totally agree. It's interesting to see, like, because I just the whole kind of Twitch like ecosystem, like kind of like economic kind of system is like so interesting to me, because it's like a conjunction of like a Patreon or something like that, and like just kind of like these people really do have like vlogger personalities for the most part. So it's like
for the case, for instance, like the first person I heard using Twitch was Joshua Citarella.
Mm-hmm.
So why does he use Twitch? Because he needs to simultaneously to him talking about this like alt-right memes, he shows them on the Twitch. What's the use of the platform? I don't know.
So he's been doing a couple things. He like, I think he kind of aligns himself more with like podcasters that are in kind of like the TrueAnon kind of like Chapo kind of group almost, but it's almost in the same vein that Brad Trimble was doing, kind of like his like Instagram content and stuff like that. For his like Twitch specifically, it's like he started off doing like these talks with people like Brad and other people that were talking about kind of like the memes that he was like kind of like learning about, where people were basically like a lot of his like art practice is around learning about kind of like Gen Z like political radicalization through social media platforms, and like he talks a lot about like alt-right kind of memers, and kind of also like the political labels that like young like kind of like politically conscious like teens kind of like self-identify as.
Right.
So that he almost uses them as like like talks, I suppose. Like usually the format is like somebody brings in a PowerPoint, usually him. They sit and they talk about it and they put all of like the cultural like connections together and stuff like that. But his like content has really like transitioned into like larger scale like group combos and things like that. I mean, like he falls under like the just talking category of like Twitch, and it's interesting. I would definitely consider it part of his like art practice because his practice is so academic to begin with. But I think he uses these platforms in a really interesting way to kind of remove himself from like just like academic like patriotage and like also just like institutional kind of like he still gets institutional grants and stuff like that, but I know he makes, a bit of money on the side. It seems like it's like such a good kind of side hustle means of creating income. But that like creation of like a personality too for like these specific platforms is like interesting in my eyes. And I think a lot of us as like artists have seen that with Instagram where kind of like the personality comes first before the art sometimes,
I really love he uses the platforms though. I think it's really important to like kind of criticize these academic portals through these young people's spaces. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, please do.
No, I was wondering if he could have like a OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Would it be the same?
I mean, probably. I mean, with like, it's like it's a subscription based thing, so or like platform. So if you want to put out content or information that like only your paying subscribers can access, I guess like an OnlyFans or a similar site, maybe like a Patreon would work well. I think it's interesting that there's like this idea now of like being a person on the internet where you have your content, you have your information, and you have what you give, and then you have your paid like tiers. I think it's interesting to see how many people are willing to pay for content versus free content on the internet because as the internet is, everything is free, and no matter what kind of paywall you put up, there's going to be a way around it. So it's interesting to see how, maybe like the people who consider themselves to be like true fans or the hardcore fans are willing to pay for like the bonus content versus your everyday user who is just subscribed to like the YouTube channel or the podcast or the this thing or that thing.
Yeah, I think that's like a major thing to like think about like in kind of the transition for like independent like musicians and artists and stuff too, and I think that's like really kind of changing how an artist views making a living off their own art. I don't know. Does anybody want to?
Yeah, totally. I read an article today. I'll post in the chat about this live stream software called Stage It that some artists are starting to turn to for their concerts. Basically, like to attend, it has like its own sort of currency in the system that it uses. So I think like you start paying, what is the number, at like 10 cents each, then like per thing, but you could add more to it. Then you could like tip the artist more. And I think the artist can also like kind of set their ticket price for it. But like if the way that this works, if you miss like the time that they're streaming, that's it. The stream's gone. Like as if like you missed a concert that you bought a ticket for. You don't get to see anything else. So that's like an interesting way to see some artists try to claw back some of this, lost income and lost like live performance income and touring income. Mm-hmm. But like I don't know what that's gonna do really in the long term. Like I feel like most music fans are just not going to shell out a ton of money to watch a live stream like that, especially when they're already so used to only paying, you know, $10 a month for Spotify. That already doesn't pay out well for artists. So like something else has to be there to make up for some of that lost income. I don't really know what's going to do it.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like conversations around musicians talking about like that transition into music videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there was like such a huge like push away from that format initially because it's like it's just another kind of excessive thing that like pushes you further away from the music and stuff like that. You know, video killed the radio star and shit like that. But like I think like I don't know, it's the people that we've kind of collectively nominated as like our pop stars or like kind of larger scale musicians, I think carry way more hats than I think they used to. I think like it's like interesting to kind of see that people that are that have to make like a sustainable career out of like art and performance and stuff like that not only have to be like I think like a good example right now is like Doja Cat. Like she hasn't really put out any new music, but I see her name constantly because of the amount of content that she's been like providing her audience on like Instagram Live and like TikToks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like she's like 100% just like constantly in everybody's feeds.
Yeah,
like,
as far as like, you know, the like major label system goes and like for mainstream artists and pop artists and such, for those of you who don't know me, I work at a major label owned by Sony. So when we're signing new artists, like they are totally expected to have these like big social media presences that are like totally separate from whatever music that they're putting out or playing shows or whatever. Like they're expected to be on all the time, giving their fans like this content so that people are just aware that they're out there and doing stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting to think. Like that's like how you have to play the game these days. Is like people are on their phones or like on the internet like 24/7 basically. So it's like you want to have your name out there as much as you can, and if you're covering every platform that's like popular, like it wouldn't surprise me at all if you start seeing like these music celebrities like making a Twitch and like doing like a gaming hour once a week.
Oh yeah,
you would pull crazy.
It's already happened.
Yeah, we already do shit like that.
It's already happened, like with like certain celebrities, like not so much like mainstream celebrities like a Doja Cat, let's say, but like I would say like internet celebrities for sure are migrating to Twitch as like a means of more engagement and more experience building and world building, like fandom. You know, I think like if anything, our digital footprint is becoming more and more vast in like the grooves that we're like getting into as people, because we only had to have one facet of perception on the internet. Now we have thousands, you know, and so there are people like who are like we would consider normies going onto these platforms and like having their own pioneering like adventures, you know, and then there are people who have been pioneering for years on the internet who are watching this happen and trying to find other avenues to explore now, which I find really interesting, because a lot of people are having this like shock moment of like, oh, we're discovering the internet as a culture when that's already been happening. Where's what's the underbelly of that, you know? Because you can feel the movements happening right now, like especially with Joshua Citarella, like he's definitely doing a great job of like documenting that, or like keeping us like together in this, or showing us different avenues of that. But there's obviously like different strings that we're not acknowledging.
Have you guys been watching a lot of like these artists' live streams and concerts and things like that? Musician live streams, rather, I should say.
Well, Erykah Badu like did a live stream and asked like $1 for people to enter, and she made, I think she like made over like 300,000.
Yeah, I watched one of those too. Really, really cool.
I think it's less on Instagram Live. I feel like I've been moving to other types of like websites and stuff too to kind of get content. But like I just don't think Instagram Live is like the best way to kind of consume like a live stream. Like I like something like even like a Zoom chat where like you're able to have like multiple conversations going on at the same time. Like it just makes for a little bit more of like a sitting around the couch and like chatting with.
Feels more like intimate, like you're actually there. Instagram Live, like you're looking at such a small screen and you see like comments constantly popping up. Like it's hard to stay connected with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need like my computer screen to sit down and like really see something.
I feel like it's the radio coming back or something. It's just like radio coming back in like a video form.
Like
maybe
in what way that there's
it's because like
the
TV
choices
killed the
just,
radio star, but then like TV gave birth to a new radio with where you could like look at people's faces. It's like I mean because people used to have the radio on in their houses all the time just to listen to people talk, and it's like we're experiencing that in like a more digital context where you can have like multiple sources of stimulus happening all at once around you as you're like existing, and they're all just like it's all different shit. Like I have Twitter pulled up right now, I got y'all pulled up right now, and it's like dual wielding.
Yeah, my attention span group's been like changing like rapidly. I noticed it during this.
Back to radio. I have the radio on all day long. Yeah, I'm getting amazing shit from that. I'm just like zoomed out. I don't want any more Zoom meetings. So I'm basically listening to stuff more than watching stuff.
Yeah.
Is it like more? Are you listening to more like WFMU or like
Yeah, WFMU, WKCR.
yeah.
I'm listening to WKCR a lot, except for the guy that does the Charlie Parker show. That's like sometimes too much. But yeah, that's always like this analog sound in the back. I just find that soothing.
Right on. Oh yeah, I love that.
It's interesting though that like I think an artist's position is like it's I think of like early net art and a lot of artists I think taking like a lot like an initiative to kind of carve out the creation of like forms and platforms to kind of put their work on, and that I feel like now we're more positioned in a means of like figuring out the best way to kind of get the most use value out of a platform that's already kind of presented for us. Like, I mean, like Twitch is owned by like Amazon, YouTube is owned by Google, Twitter, this like goes on and on. Like, and it seems like it's kind of like the same, these avenues kind of, you kind of are at the rules of the game are kind of provided for you, and you can kind of figure out the best way to utilize them for yourselves. But I mean, then I think of something that like we're on right now, which is like 8Ball or something like that. That is we're using Twitch as a means to kind of live stream and stuff like that. But like, what does that? I think, how do you guys feel about kind of in a more classic sense? I guess kind of the gallery is the middleman or something for an artist and stuff like that. Like, do you feel now that these kind of platforms are kind of the ruling kind of your means to an audience or a larger audience, like how do you feel like your relationship's going to change to them, like whether you're like making music or whether you're trying to find an audience to like put your work on? Like I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts on the platforms themselves? Or
I think because it's just happening, I think you definitely have to like you're adapting to something really new, and you're like at least in my case, like it's very limiting for like kind of projects I'm trying to get going. Now I can't I'm very limited by the fact that there has to be social distancing. So, and also like I didn't expect that this was going to go on for so long. So it's definitely like you sort of have to rethink things and sort of like it definitely delays. Like there's a huge delay, and it's like limits a lot of, at least for me, limits a lot of things I can do.
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I totally feel you. That's something that's resonates with me as well.
I feel
Like, I mean, like this. I was on tour when like the COVID-19 thing outbreak happened, and we had to stop the tour and like just go straight home. And it was pretty wild that we were like traveling during this like growth at all. And I was lucky to come back and be safe and all that. But in terms of reaching an audience, like I think that I'm kind of just discovering how to like reach people more, like how to sell merch online and stuff like that. I feel like I just like never did that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of showing art and like this, like you know how with Catbox Gallery trying to do it month, obviously they happen every month, but now I don't even know going forward if that can happen the rest of the year. So I'm trying to think of different ways to like be able to display everyone's art and like get everyone in this space together and talk about the art and hang out at the same time.
Well, how do we do Catbox online?
We need to create like an After Effects like virtual viewing rooms.
Yeah, like a art in a gallery. Yeah,
that'd be sick.
Welcome to the online viewing room.
I know what the best like form for that would be.
Yeah.
In terms of like having a virtual art gallery, but also something that like facilitates a good chat.
Yeah.
I think maybe like Unity might be good. It's like a good video game kind of software you can use for like VR.
Something like accessible.
Maybe like
Also, I think that's. Speaking back to Mason's point about the gallery and like the middleman, I think like unless you do not have access to the internet, there is like a level playing field that artists now have. That like the access to people's art is not just location based, you know, like the location depending on the internet, right? But like most people have like a level playing field of if you're on Instagram or you're on Tumblr or you're on Twitter and you have a good set of eyes and people who have a following who have those eyes, you will be seen in some way. Whereas if you were just in a locational space in a gallery, or let's say like you were in a David Zwirner or you were in a gallery that's in like Ohio, right? You would have to go to that gallery or you would have to know something about that. Whereas now you have a more democratic like view of like how you can access art, right? So I think there's, and again, it's that shift that we're all in at this moment, right? We're all trying to figure out what the best way to like view art and how to like curate art. But I think it's like these conversations that are going to like come out of that. Like you could even make Catbox Gallery in a Zoom, you know, for like the time being if you wanted. But there's a bunch of different avenues where I think we're just a little stunted in our creativity and our ingenuity at the moment.
We're just trying to figure it out and like recalibrate. But I was thinking like in one of Amy Wilson's class, I love her, favorite teacher. She brought up like what is it, Second Life, and how a lot of artists back in the day would create like full on like happenings and performances and art shows in that app. I don't know how to use it. I've never been on Second Life, but it seems like if you know how to use it well, that you could really mess with it and create good stuff from it.
I think Second Life is better than like IMV or anything else, because you can really like you can do so much more than with it.
I feel like you have more liberty to create and make things your own.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the last thing I was interested in kind of touching on is like, as like creators, like how do you think this has like changed what you're like producing or what you're making, or like if you're still kind of in the processes of trying to figure out what to do, like has this changed, like how are you making things now? How are you thinking of making things differently? Does anybody have kind of like a
Well, I think right now I feel like not only myself, but I feel like a lot of people are thinking about whatever they do make, is it like, should it be politically relevant, or should it be talking about the coronavirus, should it be talking about these things? And I feel like inherently all art is political in some sort of sense. So like, I feel like for me personally, that's what I'm touching on, like the subjects that I'm touching on, but it's like, is that like cliche to touch on? Because it's like everyone's kind of dealing with the same thing.
I mean, I feel like just existing and wanting to push and make things, even though things suck so much, is like, even if it's only political for you, you know, there's an action you're taking in making things, and not everything needs to be like a big leap, like a huge comment on the world to be valid. Like, we're all exhausted, you know? Like, I think, I don't know, I mean, personally, like, I'm just trying to do things that keep me away from the screen. Right before this happened, I was like starting a publishing project, and so I was like really focusing on like tactility, and how I could take things that are digital into like another realm when they're printed. So I feel like kind of tense now that I can't do that, you know? But I keep seeing these grapes in the chat. So I'm like trying to think of like tactile ways I can like make things, and then I can figure out how to print them later when I can get to the presses again. Like, I'm just setting building blocks. I'm not like trying to finish anything.
Word.
I'm not like putting pressure on myself to finish anything. I'm not putting pressure on myself to like make some big statement, like, because everyone's really loud and I don't need to be. I just need to say what I need to say and not what other people think I need to say.
Yeah, everything's hard right now. There's too much pressure. Like, just make things that make you happy. You don't need to put this big meaning to it, unless like you want to, and that's what helps you get through things. Then go for it. But like, I can't. I already have a hard time creating as it is. So just making anything at all will make me feel good.
For this, I wanted to just like make things that were really like aggressive, and like I had a lot of like, it's just like shifted where now I feel like everything I make, I just want to like connect with people, and it's like a lot more like tender and like weird, because I just like it's like everything, it's like softer now, because I guess I'm just like, I have had space from people, so it's like everything just feels like more like, damn, I don't know, it's like a different type of emo now.
I'm just writing, but also like to build my portfolio, I've just been learning more After Effects, and I created like a bumper for 8-Ball. I'm just doing like little things like that, sort of, I don't know, just to make use of the time, or make so I don't feel like I'm like not being somewhat productive. But sometimes it's hard not to like to feel motivated to do anything. Like, does anybody like have struggled with that? Like, that some motivations, like.
Oh yeah.
Even before like
Yeah.
everyday thing.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like sleeping in, but then I feel like I should be getting up earlier. Like then I'll just
Some days I just don't leave my bed.
Mm-hmm.
These conditions are not depression friendly.
Oh, I feel like I've
I just
completely
be in my
departed
in my
from
night
practice as a whole. Like I feel like I've picked up different forms of practice, but not creating anything out of it. Just new skill collecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me
Like
too.
I learned to code a little bit, just a little bit. I picked up my up in like 12 years, like little stuff like that.
That's something though.
But it's not
later
thing. It's just some.
But it's so cool to have these, like, even if they're just like little seedlings or whatever, just like little bursts of wanting new things in your life and like.
And to expand.
Yeah.
And then you could put that into creating works later on once you feel comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah.
Sam and I were talking about that. Like, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Like observing and like consuming in a way that's intentional instead of blindly or like trying to like tacking on different skills to use for later production.
Yeah, I'm trying to like stray away from like my old ways of like sadistic consumption. Like I feel like I would just like hate watch a lot of trash and it would just be like an acting waste of time, and then I would come out of being like, God, I hated that, and then I just do it again.
That's what I'm going through right now with reality TV shows. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's great, other times it's just rotting my brain.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone been watching The Midnight Gospel?
I was saying that earlier.
I fucking love Jesse Moynihan so much.
Yo, Duncan Trussell is such a great thinker too.
I started watching it just because I have Jesse Moynihan's like graphic novel, and I like really loved it when I was in high school. So I definitely I've been like halfway through the season now.
Me too.
We should have like a discussion about it. Like,
yeah, everyone watch it. It's only 8 episodes.
It's really great, and it's a great like little.
Only 116-ish minutes of your time.
4 hours if you're,
That's nothing.
What's it called again?
The Midnight Gospel. I'll put it in the chat. It's on Netflix.
Do people have Netflix? I'm like, should I get a subscription? Or I don't know. I feel I've tried so many trials and I don't want to spend more money on that.
To Netflix?
Yeah.
You can just find stuff online.
Yeah.
You could also get Netflix Netflix TV shows like on other websites.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, just like bug a friend for a login.
Movies.to.
They'll force you to watch Tiger King.
Don't watch Tiger King.
Everybody, Tiger King is the greatest show of all time. Watch Tiger King. Watch Tiger King.
I was somewhat annoyed by Tiger King. I felt like they were.
Oh, we're doing it. We're talking about Tiger King.
I feel like they tried.
Finally.
I thought it was very effective, but I felt like they tried to make like Joe Exotic almost too sympathetic. And then until the last 15 minutes where they finally showed him being a dick to animals, and I just felt like, I feel like it was a little too easy.
Any analysis of this is just like, more dumb shit at the top of the dumb shit pile. Why are we doing this?
Tiger King is the greatest show of all time, guys. Watch Tiger King. Watch Tiger King.
It's just shitty people being shitty to other shitty people. It's like,
that's life, baby.
Yeah, for 7 hours of just
that. I feel like the hype people, like sort of vibe of Tiger King it's also a Netflix show, I think, but Evil Genius. And you guys watch that?
Crazy.
Evil Genius is.
Oh, that's so good.
Was that like the lady with the?
It's like really grim, but like
Yeah.
funny in the same.
All I remember is the lady, the bank robbery and the bomb.
Yeah.
Was that one? Yeah.
Bro, what are we talking about?
Oh, it's so good, Mason. You would love it. You would love it.
Much as I shit on Tiger King, probably watch Evil Genius.
On Netflix.
It's kinda
No,
good.
Evil Genius is so much. You can't compare Tiger King.
It's so much better than Tiger King.
Yeah.
Stop saying
Is
Tiger
Evil
King.
Genius a documentary or like what is?
Yeah, it's a docu-series.
Yeah.
Tiger King who?
Is it funny or is it like?
It's
That's for you to decide.
Okay.
Tiger King is the greatest show of all time.
Subject matter, but it's funny in the sense that it's just like I feel like it's like a bunch of dumb people who all think that they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Okay.
I love that.
I don't know if I can.
Like at one point in it, like, the moment that stuck with me so much was one person in an interview was talking about one of the main suspects, and she's going like, "Oh, she is a master of manipulation." It's like, no, you're just dumb. She's dumb. Like like you're watching interviews with this woman who's like clearly just like a insane person, but she's just like a sociopath, so she doesn't have a problem manipulating people. And then just like some rube that she like pulled one over on, it's like, she's a master of manipulation. No, she tricked you. That's it. But other than that, it's pretty kind of dark.
Right.
But oh yeah, after watching Midnight Gospel, I like started like looking at Moynihan's like website and stuff again, and reading Forming, and just remembered like how like badly I wanted to draw like him when I was in high school.
I love your high school drawings.
Like I went onto like my old Tumblr from high school and found like these little comic pages that I would do there. Like I looked at them, I was like, this is basically just copying. What are you doing?
But it's so sweet at the same time.
Maybe we'll take a break, then we'll come back, talk about the second thing. Yeah.
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 I'm gonna go watch the.
When we first opened our doors. Since 1926. Since 1978. For 60 years. For 75 years. For over 80 years. In 90 years. Over 100 years. Nationwide has been on your side. Restaurants have always been there for you. Nissan has been with you through thick and thin. People do what we've always done. Take care of people. We're people. People. Family. Families. Even now. Especially now. Right now. Now more than ever. Today, more than ever. Today, more than ever. In times like this. At times like these. During these difficult times. In these troubled times. Challenging times. Trying times. In these times of uncertainty. During this time of great uncertainty. During these uncertain times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. This unprecedented moment in our history. Time of social distancing. While things have slowed down. As we turn more inside. While the doors may be closed. While the distance between us has gotten bigger. The more we stay apart, we still find ways to stay close. Even when we're apart. Even if we can't stand closer and 6 feet. We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other. There's still ways to touch each other. All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home. Home. That's the key. Buick and GMC are here to help. Con Edison is here to help. Our teams are here. We are here. We're here. Here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We'll be here for you. Runnings is here for you. We're still here for you. We're with you. We're part of your community. So you can trust us. You can count on us. And we'll get through this. Together. first opened our doors. Since 1926. Since 1978. For 60 years. For 75 years. For over 80 years. In 90 years. Over 100 years. Nationwide has been on your side. Restaurants have always been there for you. The East Side has been with you through thick and thin. People do what we've always done. Take care of people. We're people. 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 Family. 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 Families. 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 Even now. Especially now. Especially now. Right now. Now more than ever. More than ever. Today. More than ever. Today. More than ever. In times like this. At times like these. During these difficult times. In these troubled times. Challenging times. Trying times. In these times of uncertainty. During this time of great uncertainty. During these uncertain times. During these uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. This unprecedented moment in our history. Time of social distancing. While things have slowed down. As we turn more inside. While the doors may be closed. While the distance between us has gotten bigger. The more we stay apart, we still find ways to stay close. Even when we're apart. Even if we can't stand closer than 6 feet. We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other. There's still ways to touch each other. All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home. Without leaving the safety of your home. 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 That's the key. Buick and GMC are here to help. Con Edison is here to help. Here to help. Our teams are here. We are here. We're here. We're here. Here for you. Here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We are here for you. We'll be here for you. Runnings is here for you. We're still here for you. We're with you. We're part of the community. So you can trust us. You can count on us. And we'll get through this. Together. 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 When we first opened our doors. Since 1926. Since 1978. For 60 years. For 75 years. For over 80 years. In 90 years. Over 100 years. Nationwide has been on your side. Restaurants have always been there for you. The East Side has been with you through thick and thin. People do what we've always done. Take care of people. We're people. 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 Family. 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 Families. 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 Even now. Especially now. Especially now. Right now. Now more than ever. More than ever. Today. More than ever. Today. More than ever. In times like this. At times like these. During these difficult times. In these troubled times. Challenging times. Trying times. In these times of uncertainty. During this time of great uncertainty. During these uncertain times. During these uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. This unprecedented moment in our history. Time of social distancing. While things have slowed down. As we turn more inside. While the doors may be closed. While the distance between us has gotten bigger. The more we stay apart, we still find ways to stay close. Even when we're apart. Even if we can't stand closer than 6 feet. We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other. There's still ways to touch each other. All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home. Without leaving the safety of your home. 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 That's the key. Buick and GMC are here to help. Con Edison is here to help. Here to help. Our teams are here. We are here. We're here. We're here. Here for you. Here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We are here for you. We'll be here for you. Runnings is here for you. We're still here for you. We're with you. We're part of the community. So you can trust us. You can count on us. And we'll get through this. Together. 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 When we first opened our doors. Since 1926. Since 1978. For 60 years. For 75 years. For over 80 years. In 90 years. Over 100 years. Nationwide has been on your side. Restaurants have always been there for you. The East Side has been with you through thick and thin. People do what we've always done. Take care of people. We're people. 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 Family. 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 Families. 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 Even now. Especially now. Especially now. Right now. Now more than ever. More than ever. Today. More than ever. Today. More than ever. In times like this. At times like these. During these difficult times. In these troubled times. Challenging times. Trying times. In these times of uncertainty. During this time of great uncertainty. During these uncertain times. During these uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Uncertain times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times. This unprecedented moment in our history. Time of social distancing. While things have slowed down. As we turn more inside. While the doors may be closed. While the distance between us has gotten bigger. The more we stay apart, we still find ways to stay close. Even when we're apart. Even if we can't stand closer than 6 feet. We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other. There's still ways to touch each other. All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home. Without leaving the safety of your home. 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 That's the key. Buick and GMC are here to help. Con Edison is here to help. Here to help. Our teams are here. We are here. We're here. We're here. Here for you. Here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here for you. We are here for you. We'll be here for you. Runnings is here for you. We're still here for you. We're with you. We're part of the community. So you can trust us. You can count on us. And we'll get through this. Together. 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 we first opened our doors. Since 1926, since 1978, for 60 years, for 75 years, for over 80 years, in 90 years, over 100 years, Nationwide has been on your side. Restaurants have always been there for you. The East Side has been with you through thick and thin. People do what we've always done. Take care of people. We're people. People, 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 family. Family, 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 families, families, families. Even now, especially now. Especially now. Right now. Now more than ever. More than ever. Today, more than ever. Today, more than ever. In times like this. At times like these. During these difficult times. In these troubled times. Challenging times.
Oh, hey, Alex.
Hey.
Hello.
Ben.
What's up, everybody?
Yo.
Sorry, I'm late.
Made it right in time for prompt number 2. Welcome back, y'all. We got popcorn on the stove going.
Woo!
That shit looks
That's
so
what's-
good. I'm so hyped for that. Yeah, so Leo sent the best email I've received in a long ass time. It was very sweet. Thank you. But I figured like a part of it could be a really good prompt. And I think, this has been a pretty, laxed episode, which I like that wave, honestly, because I've been so fucking MIA this whole week, so.
Yeah.
And I think it maybe has to do with a lot of shit kind of touching on this. I think, as you mentioned, I think maybe it would be powerful for people to express some of the more negative feelings that they've been experiencing, but also creating a language to empower each other and make sure we don't feel alone. A prompt for this discussion could be what have you been struggling with most during this time in quarantine, and what advice do you have for people out there possibly feeling the same things? So this is a hefty one.
Yeah. I was like, we have to do something that's gonna be really deep.
Yeah. But and
impactful.
Right. But I also think it's cool. Maybe we can touch on things too that we've also gained in quarantine, as Sari mentioned me in another email. I love that I'm getting emails from friends. It's super sweet because of this. Sari mentioned she has a zest for learning, a zest for life, which I love. I definitely think, there's been some really positive thing. It's just been such a weird fucking experience, in general, that just kind of there's room for both of these things to kind of exist in the same combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you're how many people we're on average some of us are living alone, some of us are living with other people, and living with the same people constantly all the time. You have to negotiate some stuff, or you have to see the same person every day. Only times you get to see other people are in forums like this, or video chat or whatever, or if you sneak outside for a sec. And so that can be just coming to terms with things that you're building up inside about the people you might be living with, or facing yourself in sort of more isolated mindsets, those kinds of things. I've been going through both, I guess. And things like this bring a lot into my life because I'm seeing so many faces at once, and I feel I'm getting to know some of you, and it's been a kind of consistent thing for 3 weeks. That's pretty sick.
This Tuesday Zoom chats feel like the new Sunday at Bev's. I feel like this is my night to go out. I get dressed, I make a cocktail, I get wasted each time, which is a lot of fun. But other than that, I feel pretty indifferent towards everything. A lot of the times I'm just kind of zoning out into cartoon worlds. But I was on the phone on a 4-hour hold the other day, and waiting for 4 hours listening to the same song on repeat saying we'll be right with you got me so frustrated to the point where I was backling my walls while sobbing, because I feel it just brought out a lot of frustrations. So that was a good cry sesh. But other than that, I feel I'm very not indifferent, but I just feel avoid.
I really.
And then there's Tuesdays, which brings me back to life. This is truly Sunday at Bev's for me.
I definitely find this to be a soul sort of somewhat soul searching, because you're kind of almost under house arrest. It's a lot of time to like ponder, a lot of time to yourself. So I guess that's I could call that somewhat of a benefit, just sort of the soul searching part. But that makes sense.
I feel like shit hasn't even hit the fan yet. I feel like things are about to get so weird, and so this whole time I've just been avoiding everything. I don't think about. I really actively am constantly looking at a screen so that I don't think about things. Like I haven't confronted my thoughts yet.
Feel that. I feel like anyone who already has suffered from depression or any other mental illness, it's just like exacerbated by this whole thing. So
yeah,
shout out to everyone. I hope everyone's doing good because it's hard out here.
My therapist just broke up with me. Like, sent me an email that she will no longer be able to talk to me until further notice.
Oh wow.
So I feel you, and like there's this well of thoughts and extreme consciousness that's like overflowing, but unable to like articulate or like reach out in a way that isn't just like complete and utter like emotional vomit or like emotional stillness, just being on a Zoom chat together and not really saying much or doing much, but being together virtually has been like a big solace in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone's dreams have been getting more advanced, but I've been meeting up with people in the dream realm a lot.
I'm like bumping into people on the street. I've been pregnant like 3 times.
Wow.
God. I got pregnancy dreams. I
had a pregnancy dream.
I have a lot of those. They're really fucked up.
Yeah, like
they're frightening.
Get out of here.
I always have pregnancy dreams where all of a sudden I'm just like fucking super pregnant and I don't know how or why.
Hey.
Yeah, just like bam, I'm like
pop. And it's like
I remember I gave birth and then I was about to nurse my baby and then the baby just bit my nipple off and then I woke up and I was like, see, like what is going on? What's going on?
No, every time it happens, I'm like a really good mother. I don't know.
Oh. That says a lot about me, I guess.
But like I've never pictured myself as like a good mother. And I've always been like really freaked out by babies. So I'm like, why are my dreams telling me?
I really want to like use this time to like if I ever can stop smoking weed, like somehow figure out how to lucid dream. Like,
That's been, I think, the biggest solace in this time is the lucid dreaming.
Yeah, I've been trying it too. Just like when you're going to bed, just like laying there, like not trying to move, and just thinking about something that you want to dream about. No luck so far, though.
Oh no, I don't want to touch that shit. I'm already pregnant, so.
Yeah, but imagine if in the dream you could like somehow be like,
what
wait,
if you could give birth to like a bunch of flowers?
I had a dream where like the face of someone was like clicking in and out in the dream, and I kind of realized I was like, wait, why is this happening? And then I almost like I dipped my toe into lucid dream. Now I won't really.
Would that be the goal for next week? Like
everyone
let's all meet up
on a lucid dream.
Yeah.
Homework assignment for everyone.
Zoom chat in the dream.
Yes. Well, I help for lucid dreaming is like look at your hands.
Yeah.
Like when you're dreaming, just look at your hands. That's the best way to like. It's like a loophole in the dream realm. Like look at your hands before you go to bed.
If you see a glitch, like stare at it.
How about this?
In real life and in dream life.
Whoever can lucid dream by next Tuesday wins a prize from me. It's
I'm
a
gonna
secret
try.
prize. Yeah.
Wins an OnlyFans free subscription.
You can't just fucking tell them the prize like that, right? No, but,
just 1 month.
Yeah,
Just 1 month.
if anybody can, you have to record it the morning of, and then you have to bring it here.
Yeah.
There we go. And if you can lucid dream, you get a prize.
I bet.
I'll be thinking about it this week.
And I take a sleeping pill, I can do it.
I've been chugging NyQuil to fall asleep, and that's been helping a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
My dreams are already crazy, you know, but like chugging
I
NyQuil,
know.
it really
Make
makes
robo
wild.
tripping.
I'd wake up and Alexa would be like, I killed you last night.
I write them down in the morning.
Incredibly
That
mundane.
helps me.
Just like I'll have a dream where it's like the stuff I have to do later that day that I'm already thinking about. It's like, oh, I did the dishes in my dream or whatever. It's like they're getting more narrow.
I feel like that's a very specific sect of dreaming that we overlook a lot. You know, like the in between dreaming of waking life and dream life, and trying to like normalize dream life, if that makes sense, or your thoughts do unconsciously.
Phone dreams really depress me. I have a lot of those.
Phone?
Where I'm on my phone in the dream.
No dreams.
I don't even think I've been dreaming the past couple of weeks because of like it's just been living in the same cycle, like it's the same routine every day.
Chug some NyQuil before bed, it'll change it.
Yeah.
If you start,
I will do that.
if you start recording,
I'll just be walking through the park pregnant, and I'll like see all you guys.
Okay.
You try getting pregnant in your dreams, Raj.
You want me to get pregnant in my dreams? All right.
I'm recommending it.
Let's all have a collective water birth in our dreams.
It's a boy.
Yeah, like we all do our best on each other.
But yeah, mental health in quarantine. Been great.
Like over a month, I'm noticing like patterns in my own behavior where I'll have like 3 days where I'm like on and I'm like doing things and I'm like waking up regularly and I have like some semblance of a routine, and then I'll just lose that discipline for a few days, and then I'm in one of those cycles right now where I'm just like waking up and smoking and like watching movies and like doing nothing, which like because it's like that's what I like to do, and like there's no real reason not to do it, so I'll do that for 3 days and then feel guilty and then start to have somewhat more productive days where I like, you know, read some from a book or whatever, or I do some whatever fucking I try to figure out more unemployment stuff, but it's always futile, so it's like degrees to how productive again a day can be. Have you guys noticed that you like have good days and bad days, or like cycles that are appearing in patterns in your own behavior?
Yeah,
yeah, totally.
I feel like
I really hope that my employer isn't watching this, because honestly, like I have some days where like I'm working remotely right now, and honestly some days like I'll be doing the regular 9 to 5 like I'm supposed to, and then other days I'll like be online like on my email like so I can get contacted, but I'll literally just be like laying in bed playing Animal Crossing. I'll check my email every like 30 minutes just to make sure that like no one has messaged me, because I'm just like I have no motivation to do any of this stuff right now.
I feel like no one's at peak
Yep, I pulled that
productivity though. Like I work. I mean, if my boss is watching this, it's kind of chill, you know. But I have days where like I just can't do it. I was in like a staff meeting last Wednesday, and I had a migraine because I sat through like a grant webinar, and I was like in the staff meeting for 10 minutes, and then I was like, I gotta go. I can't keep my eyes open. I'm in so much pain. Bye. Like, and I kind of ebb and flow between like weird afternoon migraines or like bouts where I can't do anything, and then like hyper productive spaces. But I feel like the most productive I've been is like with my job, because there's like a level of detachment from it. Like, I don't know, I haven't been making things for myself as much as I want to, but I've been able to like write these rants.
Yeah, I feel
It's like outside of myself, and I don't feel like an attachment or a guilt for not being productive.
I feel like when this whole thing first started, I'm still working for my job, and when it first started, like the first like weeks, I was so like on top of my shit. Like I was waking up at a certain time, doing my work, you know, the whole like 9 to 5 thing I was doing. But then like after a while, I'm just slowly like, what is the point? Like just slowly losing motivation to do anything.
Yeah, pretty much the only. I'm definitely like in the same boat of like where pretty much the only productive thing I do is for like work. I guess the only time I do anything. Like I'm technically in school, but I dropped all my classes except for one, just because they extended like the period that you're not learning anything. It's hard to learn shit over Zoom. It feels really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the one class that I was in, the professor's family, someone in the professor's family got COVID, so they're not doing classes anymore. There's just nothing to do.
Yeah.
It is like a totally different form of learning, isn't it?
It's so dumb. At least like I'm an English major, so it's just like we're just reading things over Zoom. It just doesn't feel very productive.
You just do that on your own.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that like education will be like automized one day? Like, do you think that we're going to like not have to have the use of a teacher? If this were
Don't they already have that? Don't they have that?
Yeah,
like,
but
Japan,
I mean
they
on a
have
mass,
those,
like in a mass scale, like for like public school.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
like,
I
but not because it's good, but because it's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's happening in a lot of... I mean, like, Detroit public schools specifically is, like almost inexistent at this point. It's, like, basically all charter schools. And those, like, fucking gear you up for, you know, a very specific type of, like, there's no kind of, like, centralized... I don't know, like, format for, like, what you're supposed to be teaching these kids in a lot of ways. And, like, the restrictions are pretty loose. And... Mm-hmm. I don't know, automized, I feel like the private school will always have its kind of place, because school is also like a status symbol, and access to education in like a lot of ways is like it's a privilege. It's a right, but specific levels of education are kind of perceived as privileges at this point, you know. I think people... My own, like, tin hat thing is it's gonna be kind of like, you know, like, it's in the next couple of decades, it's just gonna be way more automated education for, you know, the lower class, since their education isn't even, like, fucking financed at this point properly, you know, and it hasn't been for decades.
Automated.
What's that?
Automated education is just more cost effective.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, yeah, I don't know.
Even before COVID, I would imagine schools, just because of like that, all kids now like can use iPads before they can, you know, do whatever. Like
Exactly.
Education is going to be gearing more towards like less towards memorizing like history or whatever, and more towards modes of research and teaching you how to do research and how to use different methods at your disposal. Basically, like teaching you how to be a smart internet user, I suppose, in terms of like where to find certain things. As far as liberal arts, how that extends to math, I don't know, but I was always terrible at math anyway.
What I worry about is like the winnowing of skills that can't be automated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, every printmaking professor in the New York City area has reached out to my boss or someone on my team to ask about, like, what the fuck they're gonna do over Zoom. And, like, there's no, like, solution, right? Like, that shit just can't happen. Or, like, you're cutting up cardboard or something. Like, it's just not the same at all. And, like, does that become a situation where, like, only the people who can be... I mean, like, printmaking is, like, a narrow example, but, like, lab-based sciences are another thing.
that like you need to be in a place.
Yeah.
Like there's a good amount of stuff that like you can't do over Zoom, like classes that are probably really like difficult right now, including English. Like how is that gonna shift like the education landscape, and is it gonna like only allow certain skills to be accessible to those like higher tiers of privilege? Like
I'm also interested in seeing how this transitions into like the workforce and stuff like that. I mean, like, do a lot of you feel like you're gonna be like going back to like, if anybody that has like a 9 to 5, like, are you gonna be going back into the office in like the same capacity? Do you think like a lot of your stuff is gonna be kind of subjugated to just kind of remedial work like back in front of this, and for meetings maybe like in person or something like that? But I mean, like, it seems like it just goes back to the ideas around like scheduling, and kind of like a certain type of rhythm of life has like collapsed under this. And I don't know, maybe we can start from there. I don't know, does anybody feel?
I work in a gallery right now, and it's a pretty small team. So my boss has been talking about when we do reopen, or when the government says it's okay to like reopen or whatever. My boss was like, we're gonna be waiting a month before we go back to the gallery, and even then we're gonna try to work in shifts so there's not as many people in the gallery, so we're spread out, and we're not gonna be having like public open like exhibitions or like openings, so it would be like by appointment only. So we're like really trying to limit the amount of people that are coming into the gallery. So
yeah,
different.
I work for like an arts nonprofit with a gallery space, and we canceled our shows for the rest of the year. Which is wild because they're all like attached to different kinds of funding. But we just like pushed it all back. We're like next year. And I mean, we've been working from home like in almost the same way that we were working in the office. So I feel like we'll probably be like staying home for a while. Even after the government reopens things. At least I know I want to.
The nonprofit I used to work for is completely shut down as a whole. So the idea of having like my 9 to 5 is completely gone. And then on top of that, in the Bay Area, companies like Pandora and Uber are thinking of having, once even the shutdown is lifted, kind of taking away the idea of having an office location in general. So like even talks of like redesigning systems in which we work, just due to the fact that in the Bay, like the amount of traffic has gone down, right? Like the amount of pollution has gone down, the amount of gas has gone down. So there's like this, I don't know, there's a lot of like 9 to 5 culture that is being completely restructured at the moment.
Pretty interesting too. Thought you were mentioning a lot of these companies just kind of giving up their office space, and especially in a city like New York, then sort of knock-on effect of what happens and if there's all this like office real estate that's not being used anymore, like what then kind of comes of all that sort of space, and you know what that was being used for.
Yeah, I feel like New York real estate's just going to completely collapse.
Right, like you know, I don't know the number, but there's going to be a very high percentage of it that's like office real estate now.
Yeah, WeWork is going in the toilet.
Oh yeah.
For a third time.
When WeWork hopped out of the toilet it came from, it really spooked me. I don't know. I don't like the idea of like a co-working space. I've been to like the Wing.
Oh, I hate that place.
It's so fucking spooky. So pink.
I think it's, I don't know, maybe all of this, because the original kind of like prompt was talking about.
Sorry.
Well, no. I was just kind of bridging where the prompt started and where we don't have to be like sticking on these fucking things. Like they're just means of just starting conversation. But I mean, it's interesting that like I think such a major part of our culture is deriving pleasure from our workspace and like kind of the labels that we kind of place on ourselves as like workers. And it's, I mean, there's kind of like a 1-to-1 comparative of just kind of like the excessive kind of work culture that we live under and kind of where or how we kind of manipulate these systems to maybe kind of derive pleasure from these places, even if we don't particularly like the job. You know, it's for some of us, it's like aligning ourselves to a company that aligns with our personal interests that we really love and shit like that, you know? So I guess kind of this malleable kind of energy around kind of how we work now, does that kind of change how you see your job or your like place in the, you know, the position that you have right now? I know some of us are on furlough. Some of us have been laid off. So for me, this conversation shifting to more like, what is my use value now that I've spent basically the last 2 years since I've graduated in like service positions, you know, that I really did like, but now I see as kind of completely unviable to kind of work in for the next year. Obviously nobody's going to be going to fucking Hollow the foreseeable future, so that leaves me out of a job, and I mean that makes me depressed. It's also made me kind of force myself to kind of reevaluate just my use, which is just kind of like a major, you know, definitely kind of like a mid-20s, you know, you're kind of mid, what was it? Your not your midlife crisis, but your quarter life crisis. Yeah.
Well, I'm in my late 20s, so I'm past that. I mean, even more of a crisis, but
30-ish.
yeah, my 28-year-old.
And there's a reason why these prompts go together, because it makes sense, you know, kind of together.
My initial like complaining about like Zoom education and shit, and at this point being like it essentially feels like I've dropped out a second time, and this time I'm like, what the fuck was a creative writing degree gonna get me in the world anyways? It's like, do I even go back? Like, especially if it's going to be Zoom classes next semester too, which like it seems
likely.
I don't know the future. I don't know if it's likely, but it's definitely like probable that like the next semester at my school is going to be like all Zoom classes and shit. It's like, do they think that I'm going to pay tuition for that? That's fucking insane. Like, so at this point, it just feels like I'm just done.
Right.
Just like, okay, maybe I'll never get my creative writing degree, and all that would have done for me. So I'm definitely like, I don't know if it's like reevaluating like my use or whatever, but definitely like reevaluating what I thought I needed.
Did you guys like see yourselves like? Did you guys honestly like think like this is gonna go on more than a month? Like when I came to New Jersey like a month ago, like I didn't think we were gonna be going like. I thought there was gonna be something result. Maybe that was naive on my part. But did you guys see this lasting this long?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to last, like, if not throughout the summer, probably till the winter in its own way, like a peak.
I would say so too, like based on like the way how poorly handled this whole thing's been from the administration. Like, yeah, it's definitely feel like this is really not gonna. Even when things go back to normal, they're not really. It's still gonna be like it's gonna be like a scar. I guess it's not really.
Yeah.
It's just,
I guess we'll add when Georgia opens its economy again.
yeah, that's really stupid of them, like that governor to.
Also, Florida opened up their beaches for some reason.
great.
It's like the mayor in Jaws. He just doesn't care if there's a shark. He just wants them all. He's like, fuck them.
Well, I feel like that's kind of like the general consensus of how we all are feeling, right? We all feel like we're being thrown into a water of like a sharky waters, you know, like, and then like we're all just kind of like swimming and floating and treading water and like helping other people like keep their head above water together, and it's all really, really scary.
Yeah. I wanted to go for like, I think it was like 2 days ago. It was like really nice and sunny out, and I thought like, oh, like I've been inside and just like only in my neighborhood, like walking around or whatever for the past like fucking month. And I was like, I'm gonna bike over to the river and like hang out for a while. And I thought it'd just be like, you know, like a nice calm bike ride and then just like looking at the water by myself. And I got to Domino Park, like completely packed. It looked like a normal spring day at Domino Park. Like people are already like
insane, man.
I know like everybody's like making fun of like the protesters, like who were like screaming at the governor to like reopen the economy or whatever. But it's like people are sort of essentially doing that here too.
Yeah.
Facts.
Like
Yeah, just being in a different light.
because people were like, it's been a month and people are definitely like tired of being inside, which is understandable. But then it's like I got there and I was immediately freaked out and had to leave.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like Mason also saw the same thing. Like I called Mason and asked him where he was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm at the river, and Mason was like, yeah, I went there. It's nuts.
Yeah, it was fucking insane. Well, yeah, because I was yeah, I thought I was gonna have like a very emo moment, like alone at the park. Because Domino is like super cute, and I finally got a bike, and I was like, I'm gonna go journal at the park. And bitches were everywhere. People were doing like fucking CrossFit on the goddamn AstroTurf. I was like, girl, this is not, you don't need a summer body. Nobody's gonna be out here like.
But I think going back to like the like prompts, though, that's like very true. Like we're all going back to like different ways in which like we find comfort, and like, you know, like going back to our simulation that we like find comforting, but like none of that is comforting anymore. If anything, now when you go to the park filled with people, you're like germs.
Yeah.
You're like, you're all filthy.
You're all
like,
filthy.
You know? Like what's that Invader Zim episode with like the like meat virus or something?
Yeah,
Is trust gonna go away? I feel like the distrust of seeing other people out in the world and not trusting them to be like actually like germ free or anything like that. I feel like that's gonna be an effect that stays with us for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. It's like in that movie,
New York in particular. Sorry.
I was talking the same. Sorry, I was talking the same thing. It was like that movie Contagion, where it just that virus. Steven Soderbergh movie where that virus like starts in China and slowly spreads everywhere. Came out like 8 years ago.
I watched it a month ago because I got sick, and at the beginning of March, my mom was convinced I had corona, but I'm pretty sure I didn't have a fever or anything. But it put me in the mood to watch that movie.
Yeah, but when I think back now, I'm like, oh, he was right. Like really, it doesn't feel like it was considered science fiction, but now it feels like a documentary.
Yeah.
Soderbergh was just, I forget what body it was, but he's somehow in charge of figuring out when film productions can go back into
if like
Really?
like,
Yeah,
that's
hilarious.
I mean, it's not gonna happen like anytime soon.
14, baby.
Has anyone's like consumption of sci-fi gone up?
Yeah,
At all?
absolutely. Mason and I watched Total Recall and Starship Troopers.
Total Recall, I love
Total Recall's classic.
I was watching The Fifth
This is the
Element.
real
on-
Quaid. I watched the show on Hulu called Devs. Alex Garland. This guy did the Ex Machina movie. It's really hard to describe. I don't want to say too much, but Nick Offerman's really good. It's really like your head thinking about like the future and space I'd recommend checking it out. It's also visually.
It's FX, right?
Yeah, FX on Hulu or something.
Yeah. I've been told about that one. It's like kind of secret like organization. But
Yeah, it's like he's like a Silicon Valley dude, and there's some sort of like it's like a quantum mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
At the park, it was my first time seeing the police were like using the police pulled up and used the loudspeaker and were saying that anybody without a mask would get a summons. It was very strange.
Did you guys hear about this?
A cop with COVID.
But yeah, it's like as I was leaving, this like group of like four people. This group of four people were walking down the street towards the park, all without masks on, just like all right next to each other and shit. And I like had to, I told them, I was like, hey, there's cops over there and they're gonna give you a summons if you have a mask. Like that made them put masks on. But like I feel like a lot of people just have to be actively told.
Yeah.
They just are just not really caring.
Hear about that story? This idiot at Walmart licked like items like on the shelf and like coronavirus, ha ha ha. And he got arrested for because it was considered an act of terrorism. He just
biological terrorism.
Yeah, it's just like licking like the lotions or something, and like he thought it was a joke.
Yeah, one of those protesters in like Kentucky died of coronavirus.
It's just like
that'll do it. Like Alex, I feel like to speak more to what you said about like New York City in particular, it's like I feel like the culture is gonna definitely change, but it's gonna be seen in the sort of administration of the city, as well as sort of like how 9/11 sort of changed how the subway system was run, how there were like cops in the subway after 9/11 is like sort of a trauma to the administration. But like also can happen to a country, but it's kind of weird to like, or like just the tri-state area. I mean, who like Governor Cuomo is, like that kind of collective. There's like a kind of a collective trauma that you can feel like it's like palpable in like the air. You can tell that's sort of coming. And I feel like the like something that I just thought of was kind of like interesting would be like I feel like to tie like COVID to emotions, kind of like I feel like emotions can come in waves, and like how I feel like this is coming, how I feel like the COVID-19 crisis is going to like sort of go for a little while is like waves, in sort of like this like ebb and flow of sort of chaos.
Well, yeah, because scientists are saying that there's going to be waves in terms of like quarantine, where we're in one right now and it'll quiet down, and then people go back to work for a certain extent. Then the people who were isolated in like pockets just outside the city who lived here are going to come back, and so there's going to be another wave of people who missed the initial contraction or whatever cycle. They're going to get it another time, and because of that, like there's already these there's surveillance drones. I think it was in Baltimore, which is a city of like less than 1 million people, but they have drones there basically enforcing people wearing masks. And I feel like that's only a matter of time before that comes to New York, and then after that, it's only that's just going to be a permanent fixture of society forever. Like as soon as those come here, they're going to be normalized incredibly fast. We're going to get used to them, and then they're not going to go. Time or wartime measures are just going to stay, much like the response to 9/11 is militarized police live under and consider normal, basically.
Like at the very least, we're gonna get another wave, like flu season. I'm thinking like winter normally.
That's what that Dr. Fauci said.
I think if you have COVID and the flu, you're basically.
Well, it's inevitable if like people have this mindset of like going back to their like comfort lives in the summer, right? Like if everyone's trying to like go out, there's obviously going to be a new wave of illness, regardless if it's this season or not.
Yeah. Also, I mean, this is just like a new thing. Like flu, which is like, even after it goes away this time, in like 2 years, like we'll probably have vaccines or whatever, or like relatively good treatment for it, but they'll just be like, oh shit, it's COVID season.
Yeah, and like doing any sort of resistance to something like government mandated surveillance drones or whatever is going to be a really tricky needle to thread, because you don't want to be like one of those idiot protesters who's out right now contracting COVID, giving it to other people just so they can like the people like all the people in Michigan and Minnesota. You don't want to be those people. But at the same time, Mason and I were talking the other day, and he's like, I'm gonna go to the store and buy a sandwich, and I was like, $6, dude? You're gonna do like that's fucking luxurious right now.
Yeah.
It's just we normalize being like this broke. We normalize this so fast, and it really is concerning, because like whatever measures have to be taken right now, they don't have to be taken for forever, and resisting that is just going to be like really, really tricky, because you don't want to be like a reactionary idiot who dies of COVID when you didn't have to, but also you don't want to just be like quarantine me daddy, which is, you know, for right now, that's what like that's.
But it's just so hard.
Quarantine me daddy. That's where I feel that. That's 100%.
Yeah.
You guys, if I've been listening to this podcast Alpha Bunga Bunga a lot more recently. Really, I don't know. They usually talk about shit that's like above, like over my head. They're really smart, but they shared a meme where it was like a quarantine me daddy. So like that's where I took that phrase from. They also did an interview recently with a libertarian, this guy John McAfee, who I had never heard of, but
Oh yes,
they're
yes.
like postmodern socialists, and so they
Yeah.
this libertarian who's just like, more people have died of diarrhea in the last 5 months than COVID. Like this is all. Who would just like, because of his ideology, had to just like be fully in denial mode about there being any sort of crisis at all.
Wait, you've never
They
heard
just let him talk for a half hour, and he's insane. It's
Yeah.
I really recommend it.
I've never heard of him before.
Yeah, I had never heard of him either.
Literally, like, he's the guy who made like the McAfee like antivirus software.
Yeah,
like, that's on
exactly.
every piece.
Yes.
So they talked to him because he knows something about like computer virology. So they're like, maybe you know something about normal.
He like, killed somebody in like Guatemala.
What?
He like killed someone in South America, where he had like this property where he would just do research chemicals all the time. Somebody like came onto the property and like,
One of the hosts on the show lives in Brazil, and so he like said goodbye in Portuguese. And John McAfee's reaction is like, "You're not speaking English. What the fuck? Like, just speak in English, man. Like, what is this Spanish bullshit?" He's like, so if he,
yeah, I can't remember where he was, but he like shot somebody who came onto his property in like another country.
wow. He's also a libertarian nominee for 2020.
I saw a bunch of interviews with like prostitutes that he had acquired the services of. They were just telling his business. It was great. Apparently, he likes getting shit on.
Ooh.
Don't we all? He likes that one, Valentina.
Emotionally shitted on.
Yes.
One time.
Well, how are y'all feeling? Are we?
I'm high.
I'm drunk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Energy.
I'm not feeling.
I'm not high or drunk enough.
We should switch that up, but y'all have lasted until the end of the show. We're going out tonight with our first performance.
Woo!
Oh
shit!
It's on Habbo Hotel though.
The only place the audio is streaming is through Habbo Hotel.
No, it's gonna be on 8ball.tv. It's gonna be streaming. The audio's gonna be streaming on the stream. So I mean, like, there won't be any interference. You can like totally listen to it like on the website. But we're gonna have like a little after party on Habbo right now.
Okay.
So come through. I made a fucking bar. I'm gonna pull it up right now. This shit looks mad cute. And the homies dropped a mix today officially. Hey. Yeah. So I'll pull it up right now. I made a fucking bar for us to hang out in. So come make an account and come hang, and we'll.
I just made an account. How do I join?
My username. This is from middle school. It is Electric Whale.
Can I do that on my phone and my
in the bar?
Yeah, you can. Oh wait, Alexa. Yeah, Alexa's bartending.
Behind the bar. Hold on. Wait, how do you get the like link to it for the?
Oh, just look up. Oh, okay, you have to friend me. I am Electric Whale. This is me over here.
I am Electric Whale.
This is me.
I am who I am.
I am. Yeah.
Here are my whale socks.
Fucking energy. Yeah. Not only do we have a mosh pit, we have a fire pit in the middle of the mosh pit. So
you can burn the witch as you mosh the pit.
Exactly. And we're truly vibing. So
yeah, how do I get
beautiful?
Friend me. You can search for rooms over here and this thing, and it comes up with this little navigator. And then it's called Club Cell.
Right.
So just look it up. Yeah.
Also, shout out to this goddamn cover art. It looks so good.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Wait, Jack, get on stage. Where you at?
What's going on?
Oh, shit, I'm there.
So when you get in, you gotta click this little space teleporter in the back over here, and it'll allow you into the club.
That's so sick.
Can I do this on my phone?
Yeah, they have an app. You can use it on your phone. Yeah. Here we go. The boys are up. We're on stage. We're riding this episode out. And yeah, if you want to listen to the audio, you can listen to it on 8ball.tv. And we'll still be streaming for a minute, so we'll have the party streaming for a minute, but
present time, I swear to God, if I die, I don't wanna fucking die. But what choice do I have? Frozen bodies, ER lines. Strip the metal down my throat. Watch me cough, watch me squirm, breathe in deep, exhale slow. Let's see how long
she a prince, I'm a joke. The